Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Mike Walker and this is episode 3 of 4 in this mini-series on the subject of producing a chat show. This series is based on the chat show A Little Bit of Ireland, made in 2010, 10 years ago. I'll link to previous episodes in the description below and also here, but for now this one, episode 3, is concentrating on the cameras, the movement of the cameras and the positioning of the cameras. The first episode was about the set and laneting the set. The second covered sound and how 4 channels of audio were captured on this camera using the built-in 4-channel sound of this camera. But in this episode we're looking at the movement of the cameras, the positioning of the cameras and how I recorded the pictures. Things have changed a lot since 2010 and I'm sure a lot of things will be different, especially on the technical side. But the basic camera setup hasn't changed that much and it wouldn't be much different in my opinion. I used a simple 3-camera setup, one on the presenter, one on the guest and a moving wide shot on a simple track and dolly.
People to sit round as a family, you know, and I also wanted it to be quality because, you know, programs like you have here, you know, quality.
There were 3 cameras but only 2 operators, myself and one other, who would be in control of the guest camera. I operated the presenter camera, camera 1, and I originally had the wide camera, camera 3, next to me on a track, so I could track it myself. But after a couple of shows I realised that it'd make more sense for it to feature on the guest side. So I moved it to the guest side of the set and let camera 2, or the guest camera operator, take care of it. The cameras were all Sony cameras. I had and still have this very same Sony PMW-350 camera, which we used to record the audio. If you look at episode 2 of this series, I'll put a link in the description below. We go into how the 4 channels of audio were recorded on this camera. But it's a 2/3 inch chip broadcast camera, used primarily for ENG and documentary filmmaking. And it recorded onto these Sony S/S cards, which this is a 32 gig card. I'd get 109 minutes on this card. So I had a few of these which I used to use to record onto the other 2 cameras as well as this one. This 32 gig card was about £600 to buy. I bought some adapters which came out of Australia and you could get the standard SD cards which slotted into there and they would then go into the camera. And that saved quite a few pounds. All the cameras recorded onto these S/S cards and these adapters, and that's how I recorded the media onto the 3 cameras. The guest camera, camera 2, was a Sony PMW EX3, kindly loaned to me actually from Big TV, a company that I work for, so very grateful. And it's a 1/2 inch chip camera recording onto S/S cards at the same bit rate, 35 megabits per second. A popular camera with live events producers and journalists and corporate filmmakers. The wide camera was a Sony PMW EX1, which is a smaller brother to the EX3, the same 1/2 inch CMOS chips and recording format as the EX3, but with a fixed 14x fusion on lens. All cameras were set to record at 1080i, all 3. And I set the time code to time of day so that when I got back to the edit suite I knew I'd be thereabouts. And even then, 10 years ago, Premiere was great for syncing up. It was an absolute cinch even then. So, but more about that in the editing episode. The show was all recorded in camera on all 3 cameras. Using the shooting script, I would check that we'd got everything. And all the links and the competition bits and the going to ad breaks and coming back from ad breaks were all shot to camera 1. Afterwards, when Richard was on his own, we just do all those bits to camera. And it all fit together quite nicely. We just have to make sure that the positions were correct and that the continuity all fit into place. But notes were made and the shooting script was essential really to get through that and make it all fit together. We'd roll all 3 cameras for the interviews and the music bits and count down to start the interview, so it'd just be a 3, 2, 1 and off we go.
Live 2 to 4 p.m. on Phoenix Radio 96.7 FM
The shooting script was essential to make sure the programme had continuity and all the sections fitted together. So looking at the script here, you can see that we've got three colours. We've got white, red and green. And the white is all the live camera stuff. The red is music items, and the green are all graphics. So the green you can really forget on the day because they're all in a file on my hard drive ready to go, like back soon and then welcome back, which is what we had, and then the adverts run in the middle. So all these green sections are all pre-done, and but we need to put those in there so we can see what the times are going to be. And then the red things are all music items. With two types of music items. We've got pre-recorded and we've got live. So this track here was a pre-recorded song, so the cameras are greyed out here. F, G and H are cameras, camera 1, 2 and 3. So if they're greyed out, no cameras required. But then we've got the interview where we've got cameras 1, 2 and 3 required. And we've got a presenter outro there, which is 10 seconds, and that's just camera 1. 9 links to do, so you know exactly how many pieces to camera 1 you've got to do afterwards, which we show all the links afterwards when the guests have gone, and there's no pressure, we just get on and finish those off. So C is a description of the item, and then D is like a location or continuity column, so we know what it is and where it is. So Richard sat camera 1 only, that's his link, his intro to the whole show. And then we've got sofa 3 cans. So column D is telling us where we are and what the position is as regards continuity, so a location and continuity column if you like. E tells us the duration of that particular piece, and then F, G and H, as I've said, is cameras 1, 2 and 3, and I is the links, so just to remind me about what links we need. So yeah, that's it. Very valuable document, and if you stick to the script, then you know you can't go far wrong, you won't miss anything, then everything will go smoothly. The music items were the most challenging to record because we had no sound engineer, we didn't have the facilities for that, so it was a question of miming time to a pre-recorded track. It worked out okay, but we did drop it after episode 5 because it just proved a little bit too time consuming, and we only had one day to record everything, including the interviews and the links and everything else. The guests would instead bring a pre-recorded music video. Most of them had one, so it wasn't too bad and saved us a lot of time, and we just edit that in the show before the interview started. The interviews were very straightforward to record. One camera on the presenter, one camera on the guest or guests, and one wide shot that would spend most of the time tracking forwards just to give a fresh perspective and break up the obvious 2 camera views. Camera 1 on the presenter had only 2 shot sizes, the standard close-up of Richard and a wide shot that revealed the guest in the foreground of the presenter shot, which I used occasionally just to give another view. Camera 2 was fixed on the guest or guests if there was 2 guests on the sofa, so the shot size was always the same. It was always a single shot. It would move between whoever was talking. So camera 3 in this instance would be a 2 shot at the expense of the tracking shot. We'd lose a tracking shot if there was 2 people on the sofa. Nobody wants to see camera 2 switching between the 2 guests like this, so camera 3 would mask that with the 2 shot. Just a word about crossing the line or the 180-degree rule. This imaginary line is drawn between the presenter and the guest or guests. When filming interviews, it's important to keep the cameras on the same side of the line, otherwise, as soon as you cross the line from any direction, you will reverse the direction your guests and presenter appear to be looking. If you cut to that camera, it would be very disorientating for the viewer. If you'd like to see any of the interviews from the original show, they are all in a playlist on my YouTube channel page. Just click on playlists and you'll find a little bit of Ireland interviews. I'll put a link in the description below. Well, that's it for this episode. In episode 4, the last one in this series, we'll be looking at editing, particularly the interview editing with the 3 cameras. But for now, thanks for watching. Thanks for staying with us. Hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you've learned something. And I'll catch you in the next one.